Howdy, my name is Ben Brown. I work in the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences at The Ohio State University, and I'd like to provide an additional outlook related to corn and feed use that relates to the outlook that we did around cattle on feed. Obviously, cattle placements play into the mix in terms of the total picture of feed demand. The questions then that become is how does corn compete within that sphere? And can we expect to see increased corn feed use through the remainder of the marketing year given the low placement rates that we saw in the cattle on feed report? I just want to talk about the potential for corn used for feed through the remainder of the marketing year. The USDA increased their feed and residual use 150 million bushels in the April WASDE. And while that might be easy to look at it and say that that was all due to COVID impacts, either due to decreased availability of DDGs or backing up some of these cattle and hogs and keeping them on feed longer. We also had the March 1st stocks report, which provided us 173 million bushel surprise, or we had 173 million bushels less than what we thought we did. This can be due to a couple of reasons. One, we didn't have as much in the 2019 crop as what we thought we did, which is possible given the challenges in harvesting in the upper plains. Or it could actually mean that we did have robust feed demand in the second quarter. And I think that's possible too, given the fact that we had some places around the country with high moisture corn that went in the bin. It got fed. We had low moisture corn in some places and it got fed. Plus, we just had more corn than what we thought we did and prices returned down to normal. So when we have these market surprises, USDA tends to put them in the feed and residual use category because that's the only category where we don't have reports for, and so it kind of is the catch-all, if you will. And so that's, it made up part of that, right? But then the remainder is increased demand for corn due to some of these challenges we're seeing with COVID-19. This is where the old phrase, the cure for low prices is low prices, and we see corn becoming more competitive with other feedstuff products. And I've tried to represent this in this bottom graph. Certainly this isn't all other feedstuff products, and it's certainly not I haven't made any conversion for protein content. I'm just simply saying that corn is on balance more competitive today than it was 3 weeks ago, and we could see some potential to move corn through that and have that as part of the feed demand calculation. The big question I have is how much of our first half of the marketing year is that making up of our total? If we look at last year, the 2018-2019 crop, the first half of the marketing year for feed and residual use made up about 63%, and we had about 37% for the remainder part of the marketing year. Keep in mind, we had strong feed and residual use in the back half of the marketing year as we saw those stronger placements, cattle on feed placements, plus just some of the challenges we had with the 2019 crop. Looking at this year, I think I see, I'm expecting something more similar to our 5-year average, where we're somewhere around 68, 69, 70% during the first half, 30, 31, 32% in the second half. However, that still gets us well above where USDA is at the current point. That would imply, my estimate would imply somewhere around 5.8 billion bushels of feed and residual use of corn, but USDA is still well below that. And so I do see them making a revision at some point. I don't know if it's going to be in the May WASDE because I think we're all kind of in this waiting to see how the livestock supply chain reacts. Because if we do get good, if the livestock supply chain opens back up and corn price remains low, we're going to be moving a lot of corn through the supply chain, through the meat sector, right? Just because those margins are going to incentivize meat production until we get things kind of figured out again. But the other challenge is what we've talked about extensively tonight is those low cattle on feed placements, and I think that's going to continue to burden corn use for demand. So while it's probably not as big as some people would expect, given how much we've taken out of ethanol and other categories, it is still positive. It's just not making up the difference from what we lost in other categories. But I do expect USDA to make an increase of 75 to 100 million at some point. So with that, it's a positive, but there's still some hesitancy, I think, in the short term to make that adjustment. And with that, I'd just like to thank you for participating today. Corn feed demand is going to be an important characteristic as we move through the remainder of the marketing year and start the next marketing year, especially given the size of the 2020 crop that we could produce here in the United States. Corn demand has especially become important given the declines in ethanol production and decreasing corn demand on that leg of the stool. Corn demand for feed is going to pick up some of that. The extent is that we don't know, but we hope that it's large enough to help mitigate some of the losses from other areas of the corn demand picture. And as always, you can find more information about our market outlooks and farm management tools and ag law at farmoffice@osu.edu. And we look forward to seeing you around the state of Ohio soon. Thanks.